Hey team, this is Nathan from RunDreamAchieve.com. Today's topic, I wanted to talk on running mindset tips. And you have to be mentally tough, you have to be mentally strong to be a middle to long distance runner. You have to get to a point where you find that motivation to get out the door on a daily basis, and no one is going to give you that motivation and that drive and focus but you. And so over the years, there was nobody that was holding my hand when I was preparing for my own races. I knew that I had to stay disciplined, stay focused to run the types of times that I was going for, which were not easy, which was, and just like you, we all have our own goals. We all have our motivations for participating in this sport. And whether you're a 400-meter athlete or you're focused more on the 5K or the marathon distance, you have to have that mindset of success and going after difficult goals, whatever those are for you. Maybe it's to lose weight, maybe it's to run a specific time. Over the years, even in my own preparation, I was always driven to succeed, and I always studied what were the best middle to long distance runners doing to get to run those types of times that they were running. And when I think about running mindset goals and running mindset tips, I think back to some of the guidance and motivation and instruction that I've received over the years. And I was very fortunate to work with some of the world's top distance running coaches during my competitive years. And Jack Hazen was an example of that. Jack was my collegiate coach at Malone University. He's been there 52 years. He's worked with numerous world-class athletes, worked with the Olympic Committee, and been an Olympic coach. When I was with the Army World Class Athlete Program out in Colorado Springs, I was coached for 3 years by Lisa Rainsberger. Lisa was the 1985 Boston Marathon champion. She won Chicago twice. She was a phenomenal athlete in her competitive years. She ran 52:20 for 10 miles, 2:28 for the marathon. And again, she won the 1985 Boston Marathon. So it was pretty impressive to work around these types of athletes. So when I'm thinking about, when I suggest these types of running mindset tips, what do you need to be thinking about? I'm thinking back to the times when I was coached and when I was mentored by athletes as well as coaches that taught me what it is to be great at what I was doing and what you need to do. You have to continually visualize yourself doing what it is you truly want to do in the sport. Mental training is probably more important than physical training. And we all, as middle to long distance runners, we're always focused on physical training, doing tempo runs, getting out on the track and doing repeat miles or repeat kilometers on the roads or on the track. Mental visualization, if you're not paying attention to this, you're doing yourself a disservice. You want to make sure you're visualizing yourself on a daily basis over a long period of time, running a specific time, whether that's running under 3 hours for the marathon, or breaking an hour and 30 minutes for the half marathon, or running under 25 minutes for the 5K. Whatever it is that you have in mind, see yourself, visualize yourself, spend enough time, spend 10 to 20 minutes every single day. Turn off the television, turn off the electronic devices, and start seeing yourself. Spend 10 to 20 minutes visualizing yourself getting across the finish line with that time that you're going after on the clock. The subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between reality or imagination. So it doesn't, if you're currently, say, a 40-minute 10K athlete, it doesn't know the difference between a 40K 10K athlete and somebody that's already run under 30 minutes. So just because you haven't, right now you're at, say, 4 hours for the marathon, it doesn't mean that you don't have the capability to run under 4 hours for the marathon. Especially in these longer races, you can drop a ton of time off of your current personal best, provided that you're putting in the proper anaerobic training and you're spending time training well below your goal race pace. But you also have to pay attention to the critical pieces of the puzzle, the success puzzle, and that's the process of putting in those double workouts. It's doing those long runs when you truly do not want to put in those long runs after either a long day of work, or maybe you're in school and you're trying to balance several different responsibilities on top of your training. I've been there myself as well. There's 24 hours in a day. You can put it in, you can make it work, but you have to have that drive and motivation in order to succeed. There's a huge difference between being average, good, and great. And great is going to ask out of you far more than the athlete that's just trying to be average. And I think a lot of us sell ourselves short because we're only putting in what we think we're putting in 100% effort, when really we're only putting in about 60% effort. There's always room for improvement. If you're somebody that doesn't have a great deal of talent, such as myself, then you have to rely on your work ethic. You have to believe in yourself. You have to be willing to put in the work day in, day out, no matter what the conditions are like. When over the years, when I was training and preparing for the marathon and these longer and the track sessions and preparing for even middle distance races, when I was focused on the mile and the 2 mile and the 5K and 10K, I always thought back to my competition. Were they out putting in the work, and was I truly putting in as much effort as they were? A big mistake too, don't compare yourself to other athletes. Focus on what you can control. Focus on your own capabilities. When you're comparing yourself to other athletes that have run faster than you, you're not focused on the goal itself. You need to focus on what you control. You can control. You can't control what somebody else has run. The fact that I've run a 2:19 for the marathon doesn't do anything for you. What does do something for the athletes that I mentor here on the channel is what I've been taught and what I've learned. I know for a fact, if you want to run a fast marathon, if you want to run a fast 10K, a fast half marathon, a fast mile, you have to pay attention to the fundamentals and train in a specific way. You have to train far faster than goal race pace in order to get goal race pace to feel moderate rather than extremely anaerobic. Okay, there's a point where if you're training more at, say, your 3K to 5K race pace, and you're training at paces much faster than goal race pace for, say, 10K, half marathon, and marathon race pace, then you're going to set yourself up for success, because again, you're practicing running at paces that are so fast your body cannot clear the lactic acid faster than it's building up. So that's the reason why we focus on doing one VO2 max workout per week, and VO2 max is your maximum oxygen uptake. It's the point where it's the highest amount of oxygen capacity that your body can handle, and it's that point where you're running at such an aggressive pace that your body cannot clear lactic acid faster than it's building up. That's why doing those VO2 max workouts are critical, because we can spend a few seconds to a few minutes at sprint efforts, or at efforts that are right at that VO2 max effort. And that's what's great, because when you're running at those paces, it's anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute faster than your goal race pace, or more. It just depends on how fast you're running. If you're doing all-out sprints, obviously you could be running 2 minutes faster than goal marathon race pace or goal 10K race pace. So it is important to do one VO2 max workout per week. Focus on start running at changing up the paces of your long runs. Okay, it doesn't matter if you're training for the mile or you're training for the marathon. The long run is a very important part of success in middle to long distance running. The problem is a lot of athletes are running too slow for a too long period of time. Easy long runs are still very important, but if you're doing it every single weekend and you're doing your track sessions, you're doing your tempo runs, but every single one of your long runs are easy and relaxed every single weekend, and you're preparing for, say, a 10K, a half marathon, or a marathon, what you want is to, again, get accustomed to running at a higher percentage of your maximum heart rate for a long period of time. That was one of the biggest differences, the biggest changes in my training that helped me go from 2 hours and 43 minutes and 36 seconds for the marathon down to 2 hours and 19 minutes and 35 seconds for the marathon. And so there's a massive difference between holding 6:14 mile pace, which is 2:43, and 5:19 mile pace, which was 2:19:35 that I ran. The biggest difference that helped me to make that big jump was not only the mental training that I talk about. I was always visualizing myself running under 2 hours and 22 minutes. I wanted to break the Olympic trials B standard time, which back in 2007 was 2 hours and 22 minutes flat. And so changing up how I was doing my long runs made a big difference in my marathon preparation and in my being able to eventually break 2 hours and 20 minutes for the marathon. So you have to start thinking in a higher vibration. You have to start thinking like, having that mindset of a world-class athlete. And again, do the best you can with what you have. Okay, we all have different physiological capabilities. There's some athletes that are seeking to break 5 hours for the marathon. There's some athletes that are trying to break run under 2 hours and 30 minutes for the marathon. Some are trying to break 40 minutes for a 10K. There's others that are trying to break 30 minutes for 10K. So whatever it is, whatever goal that you have in mind, you do have to spend, time training well below that goal race pace, but also focusing on what you can control. If the weather conditions are shitty the morning of the race, know that everybody else in that race has to deal with those same conditions. So it's again focusing on your mindset, what you put into your body, how much hydration, how much practice are you practicing in your preparation for your longer races in terms of drinking enough, ingesting enough calories during those races. Another big mistake athletes make is they think that they can handle running a 10K out to a marathon distance without ingesting any fluid. It was a big mistake I made in the half marathon and the marathon. I would drink probably the equivalent of about 3 to 4 Dixie cups of fluid in a half marathon or a marathon. Big mistake. Your body desperately needs that hydration, as well as ingesting those gels. When I started paying attention to my hydration, putting out water bottles, really practicing drinking down, if you have to put out those water bottles every 3 miles or 5 miles in your long runs, but practice drinking the contents. Hold the water bottle while you're running for a longer period of time, and actually practice drinking rather than just thinking that I'm just going to sip, I'm just going to grab a couple Dixie cups in my race and keep racing, and thinking that, having that type of mindset of just sipping in the race, thinking that you're going to lose some time if you slow down for a few seconds to stop, or even stop for a few seconds to drink down those Dixie cups at those aid stations. It's very important that you pay attention to hydration, and you're drinking enough, and you're taking in enough calories, enough energy during those longer races. It's so important, and it's going to make the difference between you finishing that marathon or that longer race at goal race pace and finishing at the goal time that you wanted to run, or if you've neglected this, if you haven't paid attention to your hydration, if you neglected taking in those gel packs in the race, it could make the difference between you achieving your goal or you missing your goal by several minutes. And it's tough, because I've been there too, where you're on goal race pace for a certain segment of your race and then you fall apart. I've been there. I've had successes and failures in the sport, especially road races, and being on, even when I was in college, trying to, my goal was to get under 14 minutes for 5K. I never came close to that. In college, I did eventually run a 14:18 on the roads for 5K, but whatever goal it is you have, just know that it's going to be difficult, but have a long-term vision. Don't think, have a belief in delayed gratification. Don't think that what you're going to achieve is going to necessarily happen overnight. It may happen quickly for you, but for a lot of athletes, it may take several years. I mean, it took me from 1992 to 2007 to run 2:19 for the marathon. I know other athletes that were far more talented than me that can run a 2:19 marathon pretty much every few months. And so, again, if you're lacking in the talent department, focus on your motivation and what gets you up in the morning, whether that's a family member or just that goal that you have in mind, whether that's a weight loss goal, business goal, fitness goal, or a racing goal. And associate yourself with the right people. All right, there are naysayers, there's negative people that surround us all the time. There's, the brain itself naturally focuses on the negative. So if you're surrounded by negative people, you still have the choice of being positive. You can still, again, focus on the things you can control. You can focus on the right mindset, the right people to be around, the right information to listen to. Do not listen to the news. I mean, the news is just constant flatulence. It's constant negativity. So focus on positive information, whether that's podcasts, reading positive books, whether training books, or any type of information that's going to fire you up, that's going to motivate you to get out the door. Again, we all have a choice, whether it be average, great, good, or great. And all three of those require a specific amount of energy. If you're wanting to be great as a middle to long distance runner and get the absolute maximum out of your body and the maximum out of your physical capability and mental capability, then you're going to have to be on 24/7. You're going to have to believe in what you're doing, and you're going to have to be fired up. Spend some time, listen to the other videos I've made here on the channel. I'm always here for the athletes that whether you leave a comment or you don't leave a comment, you give a thumbs up or you give a thumbs down, I'm not going to please everybody here on the channel. So I expect from time to time downvotes. It is what it is. If you worry about pleasing people all of the time, you're going to be depressed and stressed out. So don't focus on what other people say. You're going to always have somebody around you saying, well, you don't have the capability to do that, you're not good enough to do that, you're not smart enough, you're not good looking enough, whatever. Focus on, for every negative individual, there's 1,000 positive people that you can reach out to for advice or reach out to for support. So always know that you have a support structure here as well. And leave me a comment if there's anything else that you need assistance with or anything else I can help you do to really get you fired up and get you out there. I know a lot of athletes have the capability to reach their goals. It's just a matter of a few more workouts or a few more years of preparation. Always believe in yourself. Know that what you're doing is worthwhile, and know that it may take several years. I mean, again, it took me almost 20 years to run the types of times that I dreamed about and I envisioned. So it may not take, obviously, and I hope it doesn't take you that long, but it may take you that long. But always know that you have a support structure, and you can reach out to me anytime here on the channel. So I hope these running mindset tips has been helpful for you. Again, there's so many different facets of middle to long distance running success, and there's a lot of things that go into running great times. But the key thing is to get the best out of yourself. Bring out the best out of yourself in training. Whether you have good workouts or bad workouts, always know it's a process to get to that end goal, that event. And believe in that process, and know that there's ebbs and flows in training. It's not always going to work out in workouts. It's not always going to work out in the races. There's going to be ups and downs. But even world-class athletes have off days. They have DNFs, did not finish. They have days where their body just is not responding. If you're having issues with races and workouts and they continue to get worse and worse, consider getting a blood test. You may be running low on iron or ferritin, which is another component of iron. You may be running low on potassium. You may be just severely dehydrated. So always focus on your hydration before, after, and during your workouts. Protein. Pay attention to protein intake. Whether you're taking protein shakes, if you're focused on your nutrition, I hope that is the case for you. Most of the athletes that are here on the channel are definitely either middle to long distance runners. They're focused on their nutrition as well. Reach out to me on nutritiongeeks.com as well. It's my nutrition website that I operate outside of RunDreamAchieve.com. So definitely check that out. And if there's anything else I can do, reach out to me. I want you all to perform your best. Use leverage. Leverage simply means doing more with less. We've all been taught to work hard. I've known far too many hardworking athletes that don't reach their goals. I've known hardworking employees that are living paycheck to paycheck. There are better ways to get better results as an athlete as well as an employee. There's other things, there's other ways of generating income. It's just we've always been taught work hard for money. We haven't always been taught how to make money work hard for us. It's another topic, but I just want you all to work smart, get better results, and get to that goal that you're seeking and that you've been thinking about and dreaming about. It's definitely there for you. So I wish you guys all the best, and I'll talk to you all in the next video.